So I don't even know what that means. Stop. Okay, very good. All right, looks like we're running. Hopefully. Welcome everyone on TikTok. If you guys could give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be greatly appreciated. Once I see a little bit of movement, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Please do give this video some hearts and share it. We're going to be talking about apocalyptic times and your intuition tonight. Welcome everyone on Instagram. If you could give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would also be greatly appreciated. Okay, we do have some movement there on Instagram. TikTok either looks frozen or slow. I've been having problems with it all day. All right, a little bit of movement. I don't know. You know, hopefully TikTok will be okay, but they do always shut me down. If you're a follower of mine, you know that any live I do, they will disconnect it. It does not matter what I'm speaking on, how many people are here, how much interaction is going on. TikTok will always shut me down. They're fixated on destroying my account every day. Okay, so you may want to switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Instagram tends to hold up all right, but the connection is always a little bit shaky. So you guys as well. Welcome everyone on Facebook. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. Welcome everyone on Facebook. Ivy Angela Rivera, Ivy Rivera, Psychic Medium, and here on YouTube at Ask Ivy. Vanessa says, hey, Ivy, you can hear and see me. Yolanda said, hi, Ivy, looks and sounds great. Perfect. Inspired Soul says, till this day, I have had these zombie dreams every blue moon. Okay. Fun. Okay. Nothing like horrifying apocalyptic dreams to snatch you back into, you know, reality, let you know that we're living in bigger times than what it may seem, and living in a more universal scale than what we recognize. Okay, these will do it. So we're going to break this down today. I'm just going to let a few more people tune in. If you guys have not already done so, you may want to register for the Psychic Mediumship course beginning January 7th. Now, we are evergreens. You could do that anytime, meaning you could take the class anytime. But if you wanted to attend with a group of people, learn alongside others, it really is more impactful in a lot of ways, I have to say. So, you know, mediumship is not something you can learn in a vacuum. So for those of you who've been like, well, I think I'll just read some books on it, or, you know, I'll take an online course. The courses that we run here are interactive, whether you do the evergreen or you do the course beginning in January. But registration is filling up fast for that. All right. We also have a lottery running for it. It is a $2,500 value. So if you want to win a free seat, tickets are up on the website, ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. The tarot class is also beginning January 7th. So check that out. And whenever you get certified in something through the Ivy League Psychic Academy or Roots Revival Interfaith, you are going to be up for higher lifelong work opportunities at Ivy League Psychic Fairs, IBC Link Call Center, what I call spillover work, meaning work I cannot take. And, you know, we're international. So check it out. That's an additional perk. Okay, Emily is here. Perfect. So trying to think if there was anything else I really, oh, I know what else. I have a channel for Late Night Circus. So for those of you who follow Roots Revival Interfaith, a lot of you were spillover there for my Late Night Circus show, where I talk about the spiritual, energetic, astrological, deeper meanings behind political movements, international news and headlines, trending and viral events, social media, media in general, right? The news, all that good stuff. And I would break down really important stories that were maybe in the headlines, but also hidden. So that show was kind of wreaking havoc on my algorithm. And we are rerunning Project 2025 if you guys missed it tomorrow. Okay, but that was the last show I did on Late Night Circus. And I only brought it back because you guys were asking me to cover Project 2025. But obviously, with the changes that are going on right now, it's important to keep that show going. So what I did, so it's not messing up my algorithm, is I just gave it its own channel. All right, so if you go into YouTube under Late Night Circus, NITE, you can subscribe and you could tune in tomorrow for a replay of Project 2025, and then I'll be picking it back up again over there. All right, so I do need support on that channel. Obviously, it's starting from scratch. All right, so hopefully I'll see you guys over there. Again, that's on YouTube at Late Night Circus. All right, so welcome everyone. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk. This is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the three truths of astrology, numerology, and your intuitive intelligence. So what we're going to be talking about here tonight is apocalyptic times and your intuition. I do not have a producer. So if you have a question or a comment, I will be getting to all of them, but you're going to have to post it here on YouTube at Ask Ivy, okay? Or if you're on one of my Facebook pages. I cannot grab them from Instagram or TikTok. If someone wants to volunteer to be a moderator, to produce, and they want to grab those comments or questions and move them here to YouTube, that's great. I appreciate that, okay? But I do try to get to everyone. And we are an interactive church, so I do encourage you to post. If everyone could at this time, give this video a thumbs up and please do subscribe. We are going to be breaking down some of the most common apocalyptic dreams, how we have spillover where they will eventually become something you're happening while you're awake. I'll break down my first reality in my own life, understanding completely that I was having this and what you can expect. Also, I want to, hear from you guys if you had visions. So start posting that now. If you had visions or you had dreams of something apocalyptic and then it happened, okay? Even if it hasn't happened, go ahead and post. I want to see what people are dealing with. The reason I wanted to flesh this out a bit more is because I have been talking for the last 6 years on my social media accounts, pushing pretty hard for you guys to examine what your apocalyptic dreams are really all about. Most people did not take it very seriously. They thought it was sort of entertaining. They thought, oh, wow, that's weird. If something did end up occurring or that dream did come true, they would say, well, that was just a freak accident. A lot of people were seeing also their apocalyptic dreams as being more symbolic, more cartoony, or more like a movie, where maybe like Inspired Soul here said in the YouTube comments, it was very much like, I'll pop this up. She said, till this day, I still have these zombie dreams. Okay. Zombie dreams every blue moon. And it was constant when I was a teen. Okay. So obviously, if we're seeing something like monsters or zombies, we're going to dismiss it, but you shouldn't. And I even think of people who are on the streets. Is it meth? It's not meth. There's something else. What is the biggest addiction going on right now? They literally look like zombies. I mean, flesh-eating wounds and like the whole, you know what I mean? So you may have in your brain seen something that looked like a zombie, but it was really, we also see this with certain weapons of war. Where people will look like zombies. Again, when the flesh is falling off and people are rotting, but they're still technically alive and there are deformities and there's all this other stuff going on, you don't want to dismiss what you saw as some fictitious creature, okay? Truth, real life is more horrifying, and the history of this world is more horrifying than any fantasy we've ever come up with, okay? So, let's start breaking this down. I just also want to say before I get into it, one of the most common misconceptions is that if you had an apocalyptic vision or dream and it didn't happen to you, it happened to someone else, or you didn't notice it happen to you, therefore you think it doesn't exist. Just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean it didn't happen at all. And just because the visions you have ranging from, you know, the weather to a big opportunity, to a tragic event, to an illness, to an apocalyptic vision. Anything that you see that doesn't play out in your own life, it doesn't mean you should dismiss it. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, okay? So a lot of people who have apocalyptic dreams and things like this would be very good at criminal investigations, missing persons. You know, I think of the show Medium, where she was always seeing these horrible tragedies go on with people. Well, they didn't happen to her, you know, but she works with the police. That's based on real life situations. So it's along that same line of prophecy, psychic ability. Okay, we're able to do criminal investigations, missing persons, paranormal work, and we are the prophets of what will occur in world events, not just events in our own little life. So try to keep that in mind. But like I said, the last 6 years I've been pushing this pretty hard because I knew it was coming, where these visions that we were all having were about to start happening in real time due to climate change and the political climate and an increase with genocide and war and all of this. And it is. All right. So let's look at what that may have been like for you. The most common types of apocalyptic dreams tend to be about war and militia. So the type of dream where you can't get to the gas station, gas is long gone, there's no escape, you cannot exit the country. Maybe you're not even in your own country. Okay, you don't know how the heck you got there, but you definitely cannot get out. So I think trafficking is going to become a bigger problem potentially. And this is not a psychic show where I'm saying this is going to happen. Okay, we have free will. A lot of things can be turned into the right direction, but it is possible something like that may occur. So if you're having dreams, you're having visions that you're in a different country or you're trapped in your own country, but it's like unrecognizable. There are groups of militia everywhere, and you can't really tell who the original military, you know, for your country were, or the police. Like, it may be irrelevant at that point. They may have become the biggest part of the problem. You would see a lot of gunfire, lack of food, because of all the bombings and things like this. You would have a lot of trouble with, like, you can't see very well. The air is so polluted that you really can't breathe very well. There could be a lot of fires everywhere in these types of dreams. Who has had dreams where you're jumping and like diving into a swimming pool or a body of water to escape the fire from like bombs? You're often in dreams like this, if you're highly intuitive, you are escaping by the skin of your teeth. I'll have these a lot where it's like, I'm ducking underwater, the fire goes, I come up, I get as much air as I can, and I know where to escape next because my intuition has told me you're going to make it through here and you're going to go into this tunnel or whatever. Sometimes in these types of dreams or visions, the only type of transportation is like trains or subways or through underground tunnels, very much like the Underground Railroad back in the day, right? So people are helping others to escape or to move from location to location to get safe. Another common one is the weather. So with weather-related issues, we're seeing unimaginable floods, freakish weather-related situations where places that never flooded before, or they were up in the mountains, like they can't, like that doesn't happen there. It is happening. And we just saw it happen in real time in the South here in America. Okay, so people who were not prepared at all, and the government didn't warn them, right? Their town officials didn't really know to warn them of that. It was because it doesn't happen there. It never has. Why would you prepare for something you don't have insurance for? You're not even on that type of land. It doesn't happen. Well, it is now. So climate change shifted about 6 years ago when I started pushing for this harder, for you guys to start paying attention. And in my opinion, that tipping point was irreversible. Now, I didn't hear about it until like 2 years later, that scientifically, apparently, we had crossed that tipping point. Now, again, that's not to say that there is no improvement that can be made, or that we can't stop this from getting worse in certain ways, or that we can't come up with some solutions. But deadlines are a real thing. Tipping points are a real thing. Karma is a real thing. Consequences are a real thing. This is real. And we ignored the science. We pushed past it for greed. And now we're going to suffer the consequences on some things that are just not going to be reversible. So that's starting to play out. And, we saw with the Appalachia, we saw with, North Carolina, we saw, in Florida. So we're seeing an increase, not only in things like floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, but we're seeing like mudslides, but also freakish events where we can plan scientifically for one thing to happen, but we're not planning for the 7 other things that come with it that wipe everybody out, okay, that make entire states unlivable, possibly for decades to come, if they'll ever be rebuilt. And this is a lot of what people have been saying, including fires. So, understandably so, a lot of people were saying, well, I was having all these horrible dreams about like fires in New York, Long Island, Jersey, like around these areas, but that won't happen. Like, it's not California, it's not the West. It's not hot here. Like, that won't happen. It's happening now. Yes. So again, when you're having a vision or a dream about something, don't dismiss it because it's illogical that it would happen. Okay, there. And again, that was from lack of rain. Okay, so these fires, these hurricanes, these floods, these tornadoes, these mudslides, these combinations of things, as they increase, so will your prophecy about it. So will your visions. And what I'm recommending is that you don't try to block it out. Telling my students all the time, and I preach on this to the public all the time, you can't block it out. You may think you blocked it out, but what you're actually going to do, especially if the visions mostly happen at night when you're asleep through dreams, all you're going to do is block your dreams entirely. Blocked dreaming is a huge problem for a lot of people. If you have blocked dreaming, that means you went through something traumatic, or there's something you don't want to think about or face. And so you have decided that you're not going to remember your dreams. Now, you're still having them, but now because you can't remember them, you can't use them for anything. Your dreams are a roadmap for your life. They're giving you direction. They're giving you clarification. They're giving you warnings. They're showing you amazing opportunities. They're giving you healing messages for other people. They're visits with your loved ones, your ancestors, your guides, your angels, your pets. You need those, okay? So you can't just, because of this, start blocking it. But a lot of people who have apocalyptic dreams and visions, or who have messenger of death syndrome, which is the ability to predict when there's going to be a terrible event, or someone, anyone, is going to get sick or is going to die. People who have these two things tend to block their dreams. So I would highly recommend you unblock that. Now, there's a class up on my website called Dreams if you need to learn how to unblock. But my recommendation is don't get yourself in that position in the first place. So what you want to do is process these visions and dreams as they come. All right. So instead of blocking it, which you can't technically do anyways, right? You want to embrace it. You want to feed it by processing it. So keep a notepad and a pen in bed and journal out the main symbology. When you wake up in the morning or when you feel better prepared to deal with it, sit with the notes that you have and journal out what you saw. Put dates to like when you had the dream, but also you can ask the vision itself, the people in the vision, the things that happen there, when they will occur. And you can also jot down those timelines. Okay, so timeline is really important in something like messenger of death syndrome or an apocalyptic, vision that could save potentially, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people, or, it's a big deal. So we need to know when these things are supposed to be happening. Don't be surprised if you get multiple times, because with free will, time can shift slightly, probably not majorly, but a little bit. So that's okay to have multiples, write them all down, embrace everything. But if you try to block, if you deny that you have this ability, you're going to develop things like anxiety, depression, ADHD-like symptoms, sleep problems, migraines, irritable bowel, OCD-like symptoms. You're going to become very paranoid. Okay, this is not a healthy way to live. And if you go to a doctor and I can't prescribe a diagnosis, they'll be all too happy to prescribe you something and keep you on it for the rest of your life, and you still won't be able to block. Okay, you're just wasting your life away with this. So be careful. You can also focus more on developing your abilities. So what we feed, law of attraction, we get more of. What we starve will sort of die down a little bit. But again, this won't go away. So if you choose to just embrace the fact that you are clairvoyant, you are psychic, you do have prophecy, you would have been a big deal in the Old Testament, right? There was even training for prophets in the Old Testament. It was removed in the books of Solomon, but it was there for mediums and prophets. Then in the New Testament, we were put with like rapists and murderers and, getting that money, turning us into like witches and bad people. But, this was highly respected. Even there are a lot of churches even that bring in, and I would love to hear in the comment section. I know especially some of the Baptist churches have been doing it. They've been bringing in more prophets in the last decade. What's the difference? Okay, there isn't. So we want to honor this, but you feeding it is not going to make it worse. It's not feeding the devil. It's simply taking intuitive intelligence and saying, how can I polish this up so my accuracy is really on point? I can pull things like timelines or potential timelines so I can help more people. And I can protect myself if I really flesh this out. Okay, that's all you're doing. So you may want to feed your abilities and get educated, all right, on how you're receiving the information. Again, most people are getting it through clairvoyance. If I didn't already say that earlier, clairvoyance is the ability to accurately predict the past, the present, and the future without having been given any information whatsoever. You just see things. You see things forward, you see things backward. If you stand in a certain location where there had been very dramatic events, you will see like a replay in your mind's eye, like a movie. Okay, what went on there? So it's mostly through that, okay, that people receive this, but you still need to polish up the details of what you're getting, especially with symbology. Okay. And we already broke down certain symbology like the zombies. Those may not have been symbols. Okay, so there's a lot there. I would recommend that you share and prepare. So that leads me into the experience I had that allowed me to fully understand and give in and ultimately embrace the fact that I had messenger of death syndrome and I had prophecy. And that was with my experience in New York City during 9/11. So I was there living in Queens, living my life, not thinking anything abnormal, but I started at night to have visions of the war with the Middle East, horrible things happening here in America, in New York, right on my doorstep. And of course, I thought, because I was only like maybe 19, 20 years old, I thought that won't happen. This is New York. Same as what a lot of people thought about these fires that are happening right now there in New York. You know what I mean? That won't happen. This is New York. Or that doesn't look right. This is America. It's so rare that we have like a war like that here. And there were images of the Middle East. So I was confused. It got worse and worse and worse until every single night, all of the dreams that I could remember were about this warning in New York that I needed to leave the city, that this war was coming. And I still tried to ignore it, but I did talk to my partner at the time who worked in both towers in Manhattan. He worked for Cantor Fitzgerald and Merrill Lynch. No one lived off of either floor that he worked on. People jumped and lived from floors up above, but no one lived off of either floor. I did tell him I was seeing this, and he got uncomfortable because I had known him a while, and that wasn't the first thing I had seen. And when it started to happen during the day, where in the middle of my day, I would be walking down the street or shopping or whatever, I would have a vision of this war coming. And I went to him and I said, we're going to have to go. We have to get out of here. He went to his boss, told his boss, I need a transfer out of here. Where else can we go? And his boss offered him a promotion and a massive pay raise. He came back. I said, no, it's getting worse. We have to get out. Go back and say you need a transfer. So he went to him again and he offered him more money. They love upstate workers. We'll work ourselves to death in New York. Everyone attacked me. Everyone there attacked me and said that I was acting crazy. I was losing my mind. I was ruining my life. I was ruining my daughter's life. If you're not in New York, where else are you going to go? Where are you going? What do you think you're going to do? You're taking all your opportunities away. You're taking all her opportunities away. I remember a sibling of mine saying to me, you can be living in Manhattan in 4 months with the amount of money he's making. And I started to think, I'm definitely going through something. And that was the breaking point for me where I really gave into my intuition 100%. Everyone literally was against me. And I had to either sell myself out, okay, or I was going to do this thing. So he went back eventually to his boss and said, I'm not doing any of this. If you're not going to give me a transfer, I got to go. And he gave him a transfer. 9 days later, okay, the transfer was to Buffalo, New York. 9 days later, we're sitting there in boxes, and I was in like Kenmore, New York. I didn't even know where the heck I was. And like the towers go down and all these names are coming up on the news for days. It was just the most traumatic. And my phone is ringing off the hook. People saying, how did you know that? Why did you know that? Like, how is this happening? And apologizing and this and that. I don't want to talk to anybody. I cut all those people off. But that for me was a huge wake-up call that I was on a time crunch when I have these visions. 9 days, I made it out in 9 days. He would have died in those towers. 9 days, I pushed it that far. That was foolish. Now, around that time, I started to have other visions about friends of mine dying of overdoses or murder or this or that. And I would go and I would tell them, some of them passed. You never reverse something like this. Once it starts, you're going to need to learn how to deal with it. And as the world turns and these types of crises and traumas and weather-related or warlike conditions, as they increase, so will your prophecy. And you can't let it disrupt your entire life. So I learned to roll with it after that, faster, okay, with more detail, more efficiently. But I also want to warn you that as you're getting these visions, you don't just get them about those particular events. Here's an example. When I had the vision about 9/11, I also had a continuous storyline in regards to the Middle East and battles and wars that will be going on, especially for women, but between the US and the Middle East. And a lot of these things haven't played out yet. Hopefully they won't play out. But it's pretty rare that you would just get a vision about this one particular event. Maybe a weather-related event, maybe, but not something like an ongoing war. Okay. So you want to keep track of everything. It can be overwhelming and you have to learn how to shut your mind off. I have to know how to say, I'm having a flashback to what's going to happen next. And I am working right now. I am driving right now. I am trying to enjoy dinner with my friends right now. I can't do this right now. You have to learn to control your mind. Shut it off, and later you will go back to it. Okay, because clearly it's important, but you can't let it run you. And deciding that it's all part of the devil's work, as the church will say, or that it's mental illness, even though no pill will fix it and they can't get a right diagnosis on you, or, this or that, that doesn't fix it either. So you may as well take the smart approach, right? Process it, get detail, embrace it. I want to get to your questions and comments, but I also want to encourage you guys to leave your prayer and healing requests. So I do go over each and every one of them. And if you are watching this through video download after it publishes tomorrow, you can also leave your prayer and healing requests in the comment section. I'll be going over them for about 2 weeks. Okay. And if I see a question on here, I'll also try to get to that. So wherever you guys are. All right. Prayer and healing requests also. I do want to ask everybody, if you're tuning in late, please give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind, and subscribe. It helps me out in the algorithm. Donations are appreciated, like always. Okay. If you guys want to book a reading with me also on this topic or any other topic, Rivera, psychicmedium.com. And let me see if we have any questions or comments coming in here. Again, I am producing myself tonight. So if you dropped a question on Instagram or TikTok, I can't get to it. You have to come over here to YouTube at Ask Ivy and drop it here. So I'm going to take those now. And if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So Inspired Soul says, till this day, I still have these zombie dreams every blue moon. It was constant when I was a teen. Okay. So here's one of the things we notice about the teenage years, and also when we hit about 5 and 6 years old, we have an increase in intuitive intelligence. So this hits psychic, mediumistic, and empathic. All right. So the first major increase is at 3 years old. If you've ever watched a baby babble and talking to somebody that doesn't appear to be there. All right. And then 5 to 6, our brain starts to develop in a very different way, and we stop seeing things with our eyes and hearing things with our ears, but it's playing out more in our head, like an imaginary friend or an imaginary storyline. Okay. But it doesn't stop. The intuition never goes away. It just changes a little bit. The next major increase is from 14 to 16. And that increase is so dramatic, so intense, that it often throws a teenager off balance. We see an increase in suicide rates, extreme depression, social alienation during that time. They lose sight of who they are. They can't decipher between me and someone else. What is mine? What is others? And this increases dramatically. it's depressing AF. Okay, who wants to see this shit? Nobody. Okay, nobody. And no one's helping them. Their parents say it's don't talk about that or that's crazy, right? The doctor will say you have a mental illness. Church says you're a demon. I mean, like no one helps. So when you're a teenager, you're going to, again, 14 to 16 is the major increase. You're going to start seeing things like this, not only in your sleep state, but typically while you're awake. Now, maybe you'll shut that down effectively as you get into your 20s, where now you're only seeing it at night. Okay. But again, it won't go away. And the idea here that you recognize, Inspired Soul says, okay, that it's almost like the same dream over and over and over again. That is one of the ways you know this is an authentic prophecy dream, because it repeats. Sometimes the storyline will pick up and you'll see more and more and more and more detail. That was happening with my situation with 9/11. But, you know, you don't, again, want to dismiss that even if it looks freakish, like what you perceived as a teenager as being zombies, here now, probably in your 30s or your 40s, this is very real and it's everywhere. We have people looking like zombies all over the place, okay? The other way to know that what you're receiving is prophecy is that it plays back in real time in your head, kind of like a deja vu. Who here's ever had a deja vu? Okay, maybe you even had it as a kid and it didn't end up happening until you were like 35, 45. It could take a long time for a deja vu to play out. But it's kind of like that. When you have a vision dream, it is seared into your memory, okay, in detail. When it plays out or it's triggered or it's deja vu for you, it's like it's happening in real time. Okay, you can smell it, you can taste it. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Thank you for that comment, Inspired Soul, or thank you for sharing. I want to hear from everyone else, anyone else who's sharing. Okay. So we have a comment here from Sapphire Jans. I dreamed of a plague doctor 2 months ago before COVID hit. Okay. There's another great example. So who, raise of hands, drop your storyline here. I would love to hear who saw COVID coming. Now, a lot of people saw the potential for something like COVID coming, but it could have been restricted, right? So people thought, well, maybe it won't be that bad. That's valid. It didn't have to be that bad, but because we don't have intelligent people in leadership, it was that bad, okay? Well, these people didn't have to die. Some people would have, but it didn't have to be that bad. It also wasn't as bad as it could have been. So you may have seen it in like a variation of scales. Like, is it not a big deal? Is it a massive deal? Is it middle of the road? I would say it ended up being about middle of the road, which was unfortunate because it didn't have to. Okay, but a lot of people did see it ahead of time. And I'm very curious about the details on what you saw. So Sapphire Jans, I want to say, like, one of the ways for you to develop is to go back over those premonitions and jot down what types of symptoms people were having. Because when they first started showing COVID, they were showing like blood coming out of people's eyes and like crazy stuff. And it was in Asia and I didn't know. I was like, is this part of it? Because I didn't see that part in my visions. But you don't know how bad it could get. I don't know what most of you saw. I would love to hear. This is the first time we're doing a show like this since COVID hit. But especially if you were getting people suffocating. Could have been symbolic or literal, right? Anything lung related. It may have seemed like chest related. Maybe you didn't know it was the lungs, but you knew it was the chest, things like this. People dying in isolation, Okay, that's all part of it. 2 months before, yes. Okay, now let me play off of that also before I get on to the next question or comment here. And again, if you haven't dropped your questions or comments, do so now. YouTube at Ask Ivy, or the Facebook pages is the only place I could take your questions. So one of the things that happened to me before COVID hit, always I get some variation of this. I receive a message psychically, and then I wait 3 times. I need 3 confirmations before I'll make a move. And then spirit will come to me several times and they'll say, you need to pack up and move, whatever it is. I got that and was able to get out of a lease that I still had another 1.5 years on. I was able to work with the guy and say, I got to get out of here. And there was no proof of why. There was no sense to it. COVID was not even, on the agenda yet. But I was able to get out in the nick of time, or I would have been flushing down. I think it was like $2,800 a month on rent, and it would have been shut down. There was nothing I could have done. So you want to pay attention also and start journaling out how you made intuitive moves. It's almost like playing a game of chess. You made moves to release yourself from things, or renegotiate, or relocate, or whatever. Change up your finances, change up your job, change up who you were dealing with. Your practices changed. It was based on intuition, and you did it in the nick of time. So you ended up coming out on top when everyone else was going down the toilet, okay? Because you followed your gut. So you don't know, it's not always about the vision of what's going to happen itself. It's about the details surrounding it that you can use for your own safety, okay, prosperity even. Helping others, really interesting. All right, let's move on to another question or comment. Thank you for sharing that, Sapphire Yawns. Long time. I've said the dream COVID thing isn't going away. Okay, let me see what this is. Chicken Mama says, I've said since the dream, this COVID thing isn't going away anytime soon. Right, I would agree with that. I think we're going to see variations of it. We're going to see other problems from different things that look just like it, like terrible outbreaks. Hopefully we learn. Wouldn't bank on it, but you can at least. Kel's Revenge says, I fell asleep at 4, woke up at 3 a.m. I had no dreams, but felt like I'd been busy all night. Is there another plane I may have done work on? Well, yeah, we do. So when and I talk about this in the dreams class that's up on the website. It's a 2-hour training. I talk about being busy all night. So you could have been working with your guides. You could have been working in other dimensions with your guides or for angels doing healing work. Absolutely. And looks like I got to all the questions or comments. All right, you guys, again, I encourage you to leave your prayer and healing requests. I will be going over them. Anyone who's watching this late, once it gets published tomorrow, feel free to leave your questions and I'll try to get to all of those as well. And in the meantime, you want to polish up, okay, on your skills. You want to understand what intuitive intelligence is: empathic ability, psychic ability, and mediumistic ability. All 3 are going to be part of prophecy like this. And if we try to go forward pretending this isn't real, this was just a nightmare, right? That was just a freakish occurrence that I was right. Eventually, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to hold yourself responsible for doing nothing when you could have done a whole heck of a lot. All right. So we want to pay attention. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And don't forget to go to the new channel for Late Night Circus. Late Night Circus is back, but it has its own channel here on YouTube at Late Night Circus. Please do subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.